want to minimize the ammunition and maximize what? Good morning, beautiful people. I'm your host and best friend in real estate, Scott B, and welcome to another episode of Damn, That's Tight Real Estate Advice. We have a loaded show for you today. Run the graphics. We have a few hot topics that I wanted to touch on, some for the sellers, mostly for the buyers. We'll go ahead and get the seller information out of the way real quick. So as far as a home seller who is selling their home, they're about to have an inspection done on their property. These are things that you should take care of before you actually list the property. But if you know when the inspection is going to happen, typically you do. Our guy, our best friend, our boots on the ground, if you will, Scott Guidry with Paragon Inspections. He dropped some bombs on us, and I'm here just to let you know, get your inside scoop on some things that you need to do to avoid just red marks on an inspection that'll help, take some of that negotiation, some of that negotiating power away from today's buyers. Number one, match your lights. Make sure all your lights have light bulbs in them. That works for one. And as a real estate agent, I'd advise you to make sure all of them the exact same color. Nobody wants to walk into a property and have it yellow and then bright white. Walmart versus creepy shed in the backyard. You know what I mean? You want to kind of have a balanced light approach, but make sure every single fixture has working light bulbs and everything well lit. Number two is change out your oil filters, people. Nobody wants to breathe any funky air, and you want to keep things fresh for the potential buyers, by the way. But clean out those oil filters. It's an unnecessary X on the inspection. Now let's talk about some curb appeal. This is curb appeal, but it's also just something that'll help on the outside. Trim your branches, your bushes, your hedges, your flowers, whatever, away from the sides of the property. Make sure nothing is touching the actual house. Why? It just looks better, for one. And last but not least, let's make sure you're getting your HVAC serviced. So getting that HVAC, your AC service, will help let you know where you stand. That's one of the most expensive things in the house to get replaced. But you want to make sure it's in working condition, so you take that power away from the buyer. Now, if you have issues with the AC, that can shut the whole deal down. Let's get into what determines your monthly mortgage. This is for our home shoppers out there. So a lot of folks out there, Scott, what is a monthly mortgage? What does it consist of? Let me break it down to you. When it comes to your monthly mortgage payment, there are a few key factors that actually play into it. So we're going to dive in. First up, you've got your loan amount, your principal. This is the amount of cash you're borrowing, usually for the price of your dream home, minus the down payment that you're putting down. Remember, this is the money you'll need to pay back over time, plus the interest. So you're borrowing $500,000, you're borrowing $100,000, you're borrowing $1 million. You're gonna have to pay that back. Plus, you're going to have to pay a little bit of interest. That money, borrowing money costs money. Next, the interest rate. The interest rate, this bad boy, determines how much extra money you'll be paying your lender for borrowing the money. Most mortgage loans come with a fixed interest rate, which means that it won't change throughout the life of your loan, which is good news. So even if the loan's going up and down, the interest rates, when it goes up, you still pay that price that's down. And if it ever goes down, talk to your lender about having that property refinanced. You might save some money. And they'll be happy to do that too. But just watch out, because when you refinance, let's say you have a 30-year loan, you've been paying it down for like 3 or 4 years, then let's say 10 years, and then your interest rate goes down. When you refinance, you restart the whole loan. So yeah, you're gonna have a lower payment, but now you restart the entire loan. So whatever makes most sense for you and for your family, I guess. And last but not least, going back to what determines the mortgage payment, your terms. This is all about the length of time you've got to pay back that loan. Typically, it's measured in years, and sometimes it's described as the number of months you'll be making those payments. For example, a 30-year loan, 30 times 12, 360 months of payment. Now, if you're paying under 20%, then you have an insurance, a PMI, if you will. Talk to your lender about what your options are, of course, but whenever you pay under 20%, you always kind of want to talk about paying 20%, but sometimes that's not financially feasible, and sometimes it just doesn't make as much sense to pay that 20%. Open Door just released the latest survey that they came out with, and the results are kind of eye-opening, if you will. 76% of sellers are open to making concessions to negotiate a deal. Concessions meaning they will give you a little bit, okay? So as a buyer, you will have to pay closing costs. That is just your responsibility. A down payment and closing costs. Now that's gonna be lender fees, prepayments, closing attorney fees. What this is saying is 76% of today's sellers are willing to give you a little money to get all that money. So basically, the cash that's due at the end of the transaction on the buyer's behalf, the seller said that they'll cover a little bit of that just to get you to give us that offer. You give us $520,000, we'll give you $10,000 to pay towards your concessions. Now, they're not saying they'll pay all of it. It's just saying 76% have agreed to some terms. So that's good to know. We were in a market where sellers were not paying any of those concessions. Now we are in a market to where they're giving it up a little bit. Similarly, 80% of buyers are also willing to make concessions during the negotiation process. Meaning, they're like, hey, we'll give you more money. So we'll give you $510,000 if you give us $10,000 in closing costs. They'll go up $10,000 in their offer to get $10,000 to cover their closing costs. Now you always have to worry about certain situations. Situations are situational, as they say. Appraisal might dictate something. Speak with your lender. Talk with your real estate advisor. Pray about it, because it might not be that type of situation for you, but buyers are open to actually doing it. So people are willing to make deals. That's awesome. Baby boomers, that's the older generation. They're more likely to offer a price below the listed offer price when making an offer. So the baby boomers, they're like, hey, I'll give you less than what you want. On the other hand, millennials, the young bucks, the younger generation are more likely to offer asking price or higher. So today's Amazon Prime Now, gimme, gimme, gimme. Millennials just want their property, whereas the baby boomers are still thinking they can negotiate a little bit more. And how do we stay competitive in a low inventory market, meaning we're going up against other buyers out there and I don't know how to win? What are a few key things that we can do to actually keep it fresh and actually get our offer accepted? So, with limited housing inventory, sellers are receiving multiple offers. Here are 3 tips to make your buyer's offer shine. All cash offer. Cash is king, cash is queen, cash is the best. But sellers prioritize 2 things in an offer. It's certainty and speed. An all cash offer provides both, because we see how much cash you have in the bank. You're not relying on a lender to give you money, which means if you lose your job or if it doesn't appraise or any other contingent effects of actually lending money, like cash offer removes all of that. Cash, hey, here you go. I have the cash right here. Simple as buying a Snickers bar from Walmart or any other convenience store that you choose to shop at. No judgment here. And it shows the seller that you're serious, and it eliminates the risk of the deal falling through because of whatever reason. There's no financing issues when you have cash. Cash closes very quick because you're not waiting on a lender to process your paperwork. It's typically 8 to 12 days, just depending on like when you can get in the actual closing attorneys. But not all buyers are out there buying cash. We see I know this just off the top of my head, last year, 10% of the market was cash buyers, and depending on your actual price point, you might not even see one. There's not a bunch of $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 cash buyers. Number 2, when you're financing, send that sucker to get it pre-written already. Basically have a pre-approval. So there's you can get a buyer as pre-qualified, meaning they're like, yeah, based off of the stuff Scott says, he can get a loan. But if they're pre-approved, that means that they've looked at your bank statements, they've seen how much you get paid, they looked at your credit, they've looked at your debt to income, and they know for like a fact this buyer's good to go. Send it to underwriting, get it already checked out. That's just as good as cash whenever I'm representing a seller. Bank is saying that's good to go. Just as good as cash, not as good as cash, but when we're looking at like for like, they're about like it. Cash is about here, that one's about right here. And number 3, we're talking about the offer sell leaseback. Now, if I have a buyer, I am not suggesting they do this because I wouldn't do it. But if you really want the house, here's an option. So that's just how bad do you want it? How bad do you want this property? The offer sell leaseback, where it's basically saying, hey, look, seller, I'm gonna buy this house. I'll give you everything that you're asking for, and look, you can even stay in the house for 30 days while you're looking for another property until you find the property that you want, because I want this house so bad that I'm willing to put it on layaway, basically. Again, that's you're buying the house and then the seller's living in that house. Now, if it's rent free or if you're charging them rent, whatever, I'm just saying that's a lot of risk because you've already closed. You own this property. Now somebody that doesn't own the property is living in your house. So it's up to you. You know, I wouldn't do it, but I've had people do it. And that's what it takes to win a deal sometimes. So remember, in a competitive market, creativity, flexibility, and all the other good stuff will make the difference. Use these strategies to help and stand out when submitting offers. Now, where are we at? Where are we at, y'all? Let's talk about some specific to the area. This is for my Baton Rouge, my Louisiana home shopper, some deals with new builds. So this is new build deals if you're looking for $250,000 to $400,000 homes that you probably don't want to miss. All right. Sometimes resale properties aren't going to be the option for you. Like I work with buyers that don't want a brand new house, and I work with buyers where they don't want a house where someone else lived. And here are some hot spots in the area. So for Plaquemine, neighborhood called Park at the Island, Thibodaux, Cane Ridge. In Hammond, we're talking about Fox Hollow. In Raceland, we're talking about Darwin. In Baton Rouge, Heron Point. Ponchatoula, we're talking about Cypress Reserve, link below for that neighborhood tour. And then in Slidell, Lakeshore Village. If you sign on the dotted line by Sunday, you'll get some sweet buyer incentives. They're offering you $8,000 towards closing costs. If you use their lender and you use their title company, of course. Now, that's going to be up to you. Talk to them. 9 times out of 10, your typical lender is not going to be able to compete with $8,000 towards closing costs. So think if your closing costs are $10,000 and these people are willing to pay you $8,000 just for you to work with their mortgage company and their title company. It's typically going to be a breakdown of like 4 and 4, like the title company's 4, the lender's going to be 4. Title companies, for the most part, they're like going to FedEx or UPS. It doesn't matter. They just want you to use their service. I will say something with this. You're using the builder's team. That's their home team. Their lender, their title. There's no third party. It's basically like you're signing their contract. You're using their lender. You're using their title company. That means they have all the power. If something messes up, their contract, their attorney. If something messes up, their lender, their contract, their attorney. You know what I mean? But $8,000 towards closing costs, it's a pretty hefty price. You know, like you could potentially get into one of these $300,000, $400,000 properties and only have to pay for an inspection, an appraisal, and maybe $2,000 out of your pocket, which is about $3,000. So that's a pretty solid deal. Get with me if you have any questions about that. I can get you directly linked up to their sales representative. I'll connect you. All right, and that's not all. That's not all, folks. $8,000 is not enough. No. What they're willing to do, if you sign on the dotted line by Sunday, they're going to give you a free washer. Can I interest you in that? They're going to give you a free dryer. Can I interest you in that? A refrigerator. Can I interest you in that? And then if it's too bright, if these deals are too bright, let me get you some blinds. It's washer, dryer, refrigerator, and blinds. $8,000 if you use the mortgage and the title company if you sign on the dotted line by Sunday. I should be their salesperson. All right, so don't sleep on these opportunities. Also, if we've got a deal killer here, and it's only for the buyers that actually qualify when you talk to their mortgage company, they're getting as low as 5.25 interest rates. You have to qualify for that. It's not like gas prices. You just show up, you pay that price. But if you're eligible, if all the stars align, 5.25%. So don't sleep on it. Take advantage of these amazing offers before they're gone, Sunday basically, and then move into your dream home. Now here's some news that doesn't matter. I thought it was super interesting. In April 2023, the most expensive house that was sold in our MLS was a 9,400 square foot mansion. Sold for cash. 7 bedrooms. Sold for cash. 5 bathrooms. Sold for cash. $4 million. Then I said, well, that was super interesting. Let me put that in the video. But also, let me look, see what the cheapest. Now, the cheapest one, there's a bunch of just cheaper ones. So I set the minimum at 3 bedrooms. The cheapest 3 bedroom or more bedroom house that sold in April 2023 was a 6 bedroom, 1,900 square foot property in Baton Rouge. $1 million mansion was in New Orleans. In the Baton Rouge cheap one, $12,000. Now it was structurally unsound. All the windows were busted out of it. Didn't have a floor, completely gutted, and maybe even flooded. But still, 12 grand for a 1,900 square foot, 6 bedroom. That's a perfect flip. Now structurally, they probably have to do a lot of work on it, but what a great deal. And beep, 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 beep. Thank you for watching today's episode of Damn, That's Tight Real Estate Advice. One more time, I'm your host and best friend in real estate, Scott B. Have a great day.